are the pharmaceutical giants Sanofi Aventis and Sanofi Pasteur. Sanofi Pasteur is the world leader, folks, in the development and testing of experimental vaccines, which are primarily manufactured in China. Now remember at the outset I told you about experimental vaccines, specifically smallpox vaccines, that Kissinger made clear would be introduced into different areas of the world for, quote, population control, and it's that vaccine manufactured by Sanofi Pasteur that we find the HIV/AIDS virus cropping up. Keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. Here is Total's world headquarters in La Défense Plaza in Paris, France. Absolutely incredible, beautiful, shining, glittering chrome and glass building. Total's corporate logo is really interesting as well. It is a veiled, all-seeing eye. See the all-seeing eye, much like the CBS Evening News eye, and the veil covering of the eye, which again, to me, signifies covering the entire globe. It's a multinational giant. Chances are very good most Americans have never heard of Total, and most Americans do not know of Total's ownership by the Rockefeller Group. So is H5N1 really a problem? Has it caused infections to humans? Yes, it's safe to say that about 300 and some odd humans have been affected by the H5N1 bird flu. All these 300 cases, however, have occurred in areas of the world where the birds are abnormally, unnaturally concentrated together in large factory farm areas, and also where large amounts of toxic chemicals are concentrated in high amounts. For example, the main outbreaks of the bird flu is in mainland China's factory poultry farms and Vietnam, specifically where thousands of gallons of Monsanto chemicals such as Agent Orange were massively dumped following the Vietnamese War. Folks, let me talk to you now about some good news versus some bad news. The good news is, talk to any competent virologist, and they'll tell you that influenza viruses that mutate into these harmful toxic substances soon revert back to their benign state after about 2 years of mutations, if left to nature's designs and if the toxic chemicals that are around them are eliminated as well. Fortunately, folks, this is exactly what happened with the 1918 mutated so-called Spanish flu. By the year 1920, there really was no more death and dying from this terrible pandemic. Mother Nature let it go back to its benign state. Here's the really bad news, however. Because of modern biosequencing, bioscience supercomputers, they now have ability to map and track the specific viral so-called genome sequencing. And they do this now in order to customize and permanently maintain a virus for military use. This is today called, a quote, a biological weapon. So again, here's the question. Why all the hype? Keep in mind again what I've already told you about the bird flu and the truth about it. To date, there have only been around 300 human cases identified worldwide, with around 120 deaths. I would remind you, as you listen to this DVD, there are 6.7 billion humans today on planet Earth. This equates, folks, to a statistical infection rate of 0.0000004215, 4215%. In other words, statistically speaking, folks, you are literally over 100,000 times more likely to be hit by lightning while watching TV in your home than to contract the bird flu. Unless, of course, there is an esoteric, hidden agenda at work here. And here is a $64,000 question. Or in Mike Levitt's case, the $3.3 billion question. Why is Mike Levitt's HHS and the Bush administration spending literally billions of dollars preparing each of the 50 states for what they call the inevitable bird flu pandemic? If this is true, that we have, the statistics show that we're more likely to be hit by lightning, why spend all these billions of dollars? Well, the answer that I have come up with, the possible answer, it shocked me. I submit it'll probably shock you. So please, sit back. The rest of the DVD, tighten up your safety belts, your seat belts, because we're going on a wild roller coaster ride. It's going to shock you, but it's incredibly important that you understand it. To understand what's happening, we need to go back and analyze something called a timeline. Let's go back to the month of March in 1997. I would remind everybody listening, there was zero bird flu anywhere in the world in 1997. No confirmed H5N1 human cases anywhere on the globe at all. However, in 1997, I found out that the U.S. Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, based in Rockville, Maryland at Fort Detrick, folks, in essence, this is the Research Center for Biological Weaponry, commissions Dr. Jeffrey Taubenberger to lead a research team to isolate the 1918 flu virus's genetic code. Why? This strain of influenza virus is arguably the most lethal germ in terms of mortality percentages versus infection rates. Far more deadly than smallpox and much cleaner than weapons-grade anthrax for use as a potent biological weapon. You see, anthrax is deadly, but when you spray it out through aerosol containers and you kill millions of enemy people in a country you want to cleanse, you cleanse the country from people, but you permanently contaminate the soils, the house, the clothes, the furniture. Everything that's in that country is uninhabitable for centuries and centuries later. So anthrax is limited. But an influenza virus, again, virus being the seed and spore of a fungus, does not infect the soil, does not infect the atmosphere. It just effectively kills people. Much more effective than weapons-grade smallpox. Much more deadly. I need to also emphasize that as a biological weapon, this 1918 virus is more deadly in the healthiest part of the population, specifically young people, men and women, between age 18 to 35. And the healthier you are, the more in shape you are, the more muscular you are, the more trained you are, the more deadly it becomes. Again, so there's another reason why it's a very, very important biological weapon. Because, you see, invading armed forces don't need to worry so much about the old senior citizens that are in nursing homes or the young kids in grade school. They're not trained. Those aren't the dangers to an invading force. It's the age group, the demographics 18 to 35. Eliminate those from the population, and conquering the country is quite simple and easy. Go back to the timeline now. August 24th of 1997, we learned in Breivik, Alaska,